Jesse L. Martin. Jesse Lamont Martin née Watkins, January 18, 1969, is an American actor and singer. He originated the role of Tom Collins on Broadway in the musical Rent and performed on television as NYPD Detective Ed Green on Law and Order and Captain Joe West on The Flash. Early life. Martin, the third of 4 sons, was born on January 18, 1969 in Rocky Mount, Virginia. His father, Jesse Reeve Watkins, 1943-2003, was a truck driver, and his mother, Virginia Price, a college counselor. He was born 2 months premature. His parents divorced when he was a child. His mother eventually remarried, and Martin adopted his stepfather's surname. When Martin was in grade school, the family relocated to Buffalo, New York, but Martin began to dislike speaking because of his southern accent and was often overcome with shyness. A concerned educator and mentor influenced him to join an after-school drama program and cast him as a pastor in The Golden Goose. Being from Virginia, the young Martin played the character the only way he knew how, as an inspired Southern Baptist preacher. The act was a hit, and Martin emerged from his shell. Martin attended high school at the Buffalo Academy for Visual and Performing Arts, where he was voted most talented in his senior class. He later enrolled in New York University's Tisch School of the Arts Theatre program, and while at NYU he was also the popular president of Rubin Dorm, the former domain of Mark Twain. Career. After graduation, Martin toured the States with John Houseman's The Acting Company. He appeared in Shakespeare's Rockin' Roles at the Actors Theatre of Louisville and The Butcher's Daughter at the Cleveland Playhouse, and returned to Manhattan to perform in local theatre, soap operas, and commercials. Finding that auditions, regional theatre, and bit parts were no way to support himself, Martin waited tables at several restaurants around the city. He was serving a pizza when his appearance on CBS Guiding Light aired in the same eatery. While the show aired, the whole wait staff gathered around the bar television to cheer his performance. Often, during the dinner rush, he broke out in song. When he gave his customers their dinner checks, he told them to keep it, because someday I'll be famous. Martin made his Broadway debut in Timon of Athens, and then performed in The Government Inspector with Lainey Cousin. While employed at the Moondance Diner, he met the playwright Jonathan Larson, who also worked on the restaurant staff. In 1996, Larson's musical Rent took the theatre world by storm, with Martin in the role of gay computer geek/philosophy professor Tom Collins. The 1990s update of Puccini's La Boheme earned 6 Drama Desk Awards, 5 Obie Awards, 4 Tony Awards, and the Pulitzer Prize. In 1998, the West End production of Rent opened with 4 of the original cast members, including Martin. He played Tad in the concept album of Bright Lights, Big City. In 2010, Martin returned to the stage for one of his biggest theatre commitments since Law and Order, performing in the productions of The Merchant of Venice and The Winter's Tale as a part of the Public Theatre Shakespeare in the Park at the Delacourt Theatre in Central Park. He played the roles of Gratiano and King Polixenes, respectively. The 2 shows were performed in repertory, beginning with previews on June 9, 2010, through to the final performance on August 1, 2010. The Merchant of Venice later transferred to Broadway to the Broadhouse Theatre for a limited engagement, in which Martin reprised his role as Gratiano. The show began previews on October 19, 2010, and officially opened on November 7. The show began a hiatus on January 9 to accommodate Al Pacino's pre-existing obligations, and resumed from February 1, 2011 to February 20, 2011. Martin did not reprise his role after the hiatus due to other work commitments. He took part in a one-night-only reading benefit of Romeo and Juliet to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the opening of the Delacourt Theatre in Central Park, alongside Meryl Streep, Kevin Kline, Roller Sparza, and others on June 18, 2012. Television work. Martin landed roles on Fox's short-lived 413 Hope Street and Eric Bross's independent film Restaurant 1998. Ally McBeal as creator David East. Kelly attended Rent as Broadway premiere and remembered Martin when the show needed a new boyfriend for the title character. His performance as Dr. Greg Butters on Ally McBeal caught the attention of David Duchovny, who cast Martin as a baseball-playing alien in a 1999 episode of The X-Files titled The Unnatural that Duchovny wrote and directed. While still shooting Ally McBeal, Martin heard rumours that actor Benjamin Bratt planned to leave the cast of Law and Order. Martin had tried out for the show years before and won the minor role of a car radio thief named Dale the Hamster, but decided to wait for a bigger part. With the opportunity presenting itself, Martin approached Law and Order producer Dick Wolf regarding the opening. Wolf hoped to cast him, and upon hearing that CBS and Fox both offered Martin development deals, he gave the actor the part without an audition. From 1999 to 2008, he starred as Detective Ed Green on Law and Order. Altogether, he was the fifth longest-serving cast member behind South. Epatha Murkison, Sam Waterston, Jerry Orber, and Stephen Hill. He had a brief hiatus at the end of the 2004-2005 season while he was filming the movie adaptation of Rent, in which he reprised the role of Tom Collins. Martin's final episode of Law and Order aired April 23, 2008, as he was replaced by Anthony Anderson. Martin returned to NBC a year later as the co-star of The Philanthropist. On September 14, 2012, NBC announced that Martin would be joining the cast of SMASH during Season 2 for a 9-episode arc as Scott Nichols, the artistic director of the Manhattan Theatre Workshop. Martin also starred in an NBC pilot called The Secret Lives of Husbands and Wives as Greg Cook. However, it was not picked up to series. Martin currently portrays Joe West in the superhero series The Flash, a spin-off from Arrow, which premiered in October 2014. In the third season episode Duet, Martin plays gangster Dixie Foss in Barry and Cora's Dreamworld. In its fifth season in 2018, a back injury forced Martin to take medical leave following the season's fourth episode. From the start of the season until then, he was almost always leaning against a wall or sitting down. Martin returned from medical leave in January 2019 with the season's 15th episode. He departed as a series regular after the 8th season, having been cast in the NBC pilot Irrational, though he is expected to recur. Film work. On March 4, 2013, it was announced that Martin would replace Lenny Kravitz as Marvin Gaye in Sexual Healing, an upcoming biopic directed by Julian Temple and produced by Vassal Benton and Fred Pistol. Martin had been attached to the Marvin Gaye biopic for years and had stated that it was his dream role to portray the legendary Motown singer. With only 3 weeks to go on a planned 9.5-week shoot, it was reported that production had stopped in the biopic, primarily due to financial problems. Crew members were said to have not been paid fully for their work on the film. Approximately 70% of the film had been shot. Other work. Martin narrated the audiobook The Fire Next Time by James Baldwin and On the Shoulder of Giants, Volume 2, Master Intellects and Creative Giants by Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He co-produced the off-Broadway production of Fully Committed with Rent co-star Adam Pascal and 2 other producers. Martin sits on the board of trustees for the Jonathan Lawson Performing Arts Foundation along with Rent co-producer Kevin McCallum. Personal life. In October 2006, Martin returned to Buffalo, New York to work on an independent film, Buffalo Bushido, and was robbed 2 days after his arrival there. In 2018, Martin suffered a back injury during the summer. He took a medical leave of absence from The Flash after recording scenes for a few episodes. He is a resident of Manhattan. Stage work. Ring of Men off-Broadway, unknown date and character, The Prince and the Pauper off-Broadway, unknown character and date, Arabian Nights off-Broadway, Prince of Fools, Clarinetist, Boy 1994, The Butcher's Daughter, Cleveland Playhouse, unknown character 1993, Timon of Athens, Broadway, Premier Alcibiades, Officer original, Second Master original, Alcibiades, Understudy 1993, The Government Inspector, Broadway revival ad, Julian original, Pantalever, Understudy 1994, Rent off-Broadway, Tom Collins 1996, Rent Broadway, Tom Collins 1996, Rent West End, Tom Collins 1998, Bright Lights, Big City Musical, Concept, Recording, Tather, Threepenny Opera, Williamstown Theatre Festival, Production Mashi, 2003, The Merchant of Venice, Shakespeare in the Park, Rationa, Summer 2010, The Winter's Tale, Shakespeare in the Park, King Pollock Scenes, Summer 2010, The Merchant of Venice, Broadway, Rationa 2010, transfer from the Shakespeare in the Park production, Romeo and Juliet Public Theatre, Delacourt Theatre's 50th anniversary, Gregory, Friar John, Watchmen 2, 2012.